everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Corps studio. Welcome to the show. So on today's episode, I've got a fun one for you because these commanders force you to play Commander completely differently. That's right, some really unique ways to go about playing the game. Let's jump into them. First up, a commander that, well, is quite unique. Norin the Wary, quite cowardly too. A 2/1 human warrior, should be a coward, for a single red mana. Whenever a player plays a spell or a creature attacks, remove Norin the Wary from the game, exile it, from the belly under owner's control at the end of the turn. Basically, hey, this commander just says, I'm out of here. Again and again and again and again. Literally, if anyone plays a spell, if anyone attacks, Norin is just gone. Meaning that, well, Norin is probably going to stay, on the board and then off the board and then on the board and off the board for the entirety of the game. The only thing they can really take it out are like activated abilities and such, because it's going to just keep leaving the battlefield and coming back. This is one where the entire objective of the game is very strange compared to other commander decks, where usually you want your commander just in play, and whatever effects it has, it does. This one is like, no, I'm out of here. And the whole purpose of me is just that I'm out of here again and again and again and again. So this is one that essentially says, hey, you know what? You have to build around this leaving and coming back. The, hey, creature left the battlefield, creature entered the battlefield, some impact tremor type effects. So more Storm Surge type effects, some other type of effects that can really take advantage of, well, a creature doing what Norin does, which again is incredibly unique and really forces you to think in a completely different way again. Your commander should be here, but also shouldn't be here. And that is a fun way to go about building a deck. Next up, another thing that you're taught initially in Magic, right, is that, hey, you know what, your life total, you need to keep that high because you need to be protected. You need to make sure that, well, yeah, you're not going to get taken out. Rowan says, let's flip that on its head, and let's just take our life total down to basically nothing. No risk, no reward, right? A 4/2 human wizard with menace for 3 mana in Rakdos. Tap. Spells you cast this turn that are black and or red cost X less to cast, where X is the amount of life you lost this turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Yeah, this one is tied directly to your life total in a very weird way where, again, on this turn, if you lose a lot of life, you get a lot of benefit, which again is a completely strange thing where, again, typically you're supposed to protect your life total. This one says, you know what? No, let's throw caution to the wind and just go, hey, you know what? I'm going to throw out a card like Mischievous Poltergeist, which allows me to pay 1 life to regenerate it, and I can do that as many times as I want, so then I'm going to control my life total going down, and I'm going to lose so much life. That's basically what you're trying to do, because essentially you get that in play and use your life as a resource. Again, in Commander, you got a lot of life at 40. Take that down to say, 10 life, okay? You just lost 30 life in 1 turn. Now, all of a sudden, you tap this, and your black and red spells cost 30 less to cast. Yeah, getting that amount of mana that quickly is essentially impossible in any other kind of, way, to do that outside of just going infinite. And this is a great way to just go, okay, yeah, just cast a giant X spell, cast any kind of a ritual effect, and all of a sudden, yeah, I've done that as well and get more mana from my other spells as well. Or just, untap this and do it again. It's a great way to essentially give you an explosive turn at the cost of life. Again, turning life into a resource that you're utilizing. It's an absolutely insane way to play. Moving on, Eruth, Tormented Prophet, a 2/4 human wizard for 3 mana, and is it? You draw a card, exile the top 2 cards of your library. Instead, you may play those cards this turn. Yeah, this is one where, again, it says, hey, you know what? Let's change the way that we are doing things. Let's change the way we think about card draw. Again, card draw, if you're in Commander, if you're playing Magic, maybe in your first year, one of the first times you play, you're like, I feel the most comfortable when I have the most cards in my hand. When I've got a full grip of cards, even more than that if I've got no max hand size. Cool, all right, great. This one says, you know what? No, you got to get comfortable with not having a hand. And you know what? Not having a hand's okay, because we're actually turning all of our card draw into temporary card draw. We've got some, well, basically, impulse draw instead. We've got basically a way to say, you know what, we get twice the amount of value, but it's twice as fast as well because, well, you need to use the cards or we're going to lose them. This is one where you can take advantage of obviously playing things from exile, etc., 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 or outside of your hand. But yeah, it is one where you have to get comfortable with the fact that, well, life is fleeting, and so are the cards in my hand, basically, because they're not going to be as permanent ones that I'm holding on to. So yeah, a great way to essentially change your mindset on the game and change what you think about, well, card advantage, and again, temporary card advantage with this one. Moving on, change your perspective on a lot of things with Phelddagrif. Phelddagrif is an absolutely insanely amazing commander that looks like the derpiest card you've ever seen. A 4/4 Phelddagrif, believe me, it is a Phelddagrif. For 4 mana in Bant, by paying a white mana, it gets flying till end of turn, and target opponent gains 2 life. Good for them. Pay blue, bounce Phelddagrif back to its hand. Target opponent may draw a card. Keyword there, may. By paying a green, trample until end of turn, put a hippo token in a player target player's control, basically. Opponent's control, I should say. It's a 1/1. Yeah, again, this has been errated, obviously, or Oracle text is different because it's written old school. This card is from 96, a long, long, long time ago. Wow, 30 years ago. This one essentially, though, goes, hey, you know what? I'm just going to be benefiting my opponents. And that is the entire purpose of it, kind of. Again, you might think this is group hug. It is not group hug. It is, in my opinion, what I like to call political control. You make deals, you give opponents things, and you're really manipulating things in the background. You're an evil Phelddagrif in a way. Yes, you can have someone gain life. Cool, good for them. And there's not really a lot of ways to take advantage of that. It's not like you have, the black, false cure type cards because you're not in black. You can't go haha, actually you're losing life instead. No, that's not how that works. You also could go, hey, you know what? Yeah, I'll bounce this, and you may draw a card. Again, may. So yeah, infinite mana going ha ha ha, draw your deck. They could go, no, I'll draw whatever amount of cards I want to draw. Not my deck. Okay. But green is really where this is at, where you say, okay, I am giving away hippos. And with that, I am making my opponent's army stronger. I am giving them maybe a chump blocker if need be. I am working in these hippos into deals, essentially, to say, hey, you know what? Who's going to be my buddy? I need a buddy right now. Help me out, and I'll help you out. And essentially, yeah, we're going to be a great pair until the very end of the game, and then all of a sudden I'm going to turn on you because it's going to be a one-on-one, and you've got all my hippos, and I want them back! And of course, there's ways to take them back, like Reigns of Power, or ways to take advantage of them, like Azuri's Predation. You got a lot of ways to essentially win the game when you give someone a ton of hippos. It really changes your entire mindset on the game. Next up, Obeka, Brute Chronologist. Changing your thoughts on time. A 3/4 Ogre Wizard for 4 mana in Grixis tap target player, is going to say, hey, you know what? It's my turn, and I choose to end the turn or not. The player's turn may end the turn, essentially, is what you're going to be doing. So the player that essentially is going is the only one who can decide this. If they were like, hey, anyone can choose to end the turn, it'd be insane, obviously, and, ban right away. And again, giving them that may effect, obviously, is important too. Otherwise, this would also be banned. So this is basically like, hey, do you want to end the turn? And there are times when an opponent really might. Maybe they swing out, essentially, and they're like, oh, I made a mistake. That player flashed something in, played like a combat trick or something. Like, I didn't see that coming. Hey, yeah, could you save my board? Could you save my army from attacking or whatnot? You can do that. You can definitely do that. There are times where you can use this as a political scheme, essentially, or maybe someone's cast an incident and no one at the table likes that except for that player. You're like, okay, yeah, hey, can we stop this? Sure. So that is a way to utilize it, but of course, you're going to be taking advantage of it in a really heavy way by essentially utilizing, some cards that have drawbacks maybe at the end of the turn, and you're like, let's not have that drawback occur. You can basically just stop it from happening. Some that are even just so crazy, like, hey, you lose the game, and you're like, let's not lose the game instead. So it really changes your perspective on time, essentially. It changes your perspective on turns and how they're structured and how they work. And it changes your perspective on cards that have massive downsides that all of a sudden you are turning into massive upsides. Speaking of downsides that are, upsides for you and downsides for opponents, the Beamtown Bullies. Such a fun commander. A 4/4 Ogre Devil Warrior. Vigilance and Haste for 4 mana. And Jund. Tap. Target opponent whose turn it is puts target non-legendary creature card from your graveyard on the battlefield under their control. Gains haste. Goad it. Beginning of the next step, exile it. So potentially what's going to happen is, you are gifting an opponent a card. Like, hey, you know what? Here you go. It's yours. By the way, you have to attack with it, and it's temporary. So here you go. It is somewhat limited, again, non-legendary, but there are a ton of non-legendary creatures out there that are absolutely crazy with this one. Being able to essentially go, hey, you know what we're going to be doing? We are going to be going with, some massive downside creatures, forcing our opponent to have them and attack with them. Yes, you could just go some, really giant creatures, obviously. Like, okay, yeah, here's a giant thing. Go swing at someone else. Cool. Good for you. That being said, what you can do with this is, hey, okay, here's this giant creature that Maybe it's when it's dealt damage, you sacrifice that many permanents, or maybe when it hits, essentially you, I don't know, sacrifice all your things. There are certain crazy cards out there that are absolutely insane that you would think to never play in your deck, essentially, and this one's like, let's think about this differently. Let's play with those absolutely terrible cards, just get them into the graveyard. Again, discard them from your hand, tutor them up with like entomb type effects, essentially, and you're like, yeah, let's give them to opponents and let them have the terrible effects instead. Next up, one of my favorite commanders of all time, one of the very first episodes on this channel as well, Zada, Hedron, Grinder. Go check out that episode. Anyways, actually, I think I've done a couple on Zada too. A 3/3 Goblin ally for 4 mana in red. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets only Zada, Hedron, Grinder, copy that spell for each other creature you control that a spell could target. Each copy targets a different one of those creatures. Basically, hey, you know what? Spread the love around. What you're going to be doing with this essentially is saying, hey, you know what? All these absolutely terrible cards for Commander, you know, those little incidental, like, oh, okay, like, oh, tiny little combat trick, like, hey, you get +2/+0. Yeah, you're never going to play those in a game of Commander. Those are cards that are like basically for limited, essentially. They're like, okay, yeah, hey, small little combat trick. Okay, cool. Right, that happened. Yay. No. This one says, okay, we spread that out to everyone. Everyone gets that benefit. Everyone gets that mass benefit, essentially, now, where I'm spending 1 mana for this spell that essentially pumps my entire army. Or maybe draws a card for every single creature I have. Or maybe doubles up my army. Or gives me mana for each creature I have. Or creates a treasure for each creature I have. You essentially are replicating spells left and right. And Zada is an amazing commander to help you do that. Again, it forces you to think differently, that these tiny little combat trick spells can absolutely just be game enders. The amount of value you can get is absolutely insane with this commander. It is absolutely crazy, and it really changes your perspective on the game. Moving on, resource management. Kruphix, God of Horizons. Yeah, basically a bank for you, essentially, and you can invest heavily in this commander. A 4/7 God, indestructible for 5 mana and Simic. Devotion to green and blue is less than 7. It's not a creature. Cool. You have no maximum hand size. If unused mana, empty your mana pool. Instead, hey, well, that mana becomes colorless instead. This one, again, is a mana bank, and you need to just think about mana in a completely different way. You are just playing Magic in a different way than your opponents are. Your opponents, I mean, maybe no one's getting mana burned right, essentially, right? You know, unless the Scorch Thrash is in play. But yes, here's what's happening, essentially. Everyone just goes, okay, yeah, I guess my turn's over. Yeah, I've got untapped lands. Okay, yeah, even before your turn starts, you've got untapped lands. And you're like, okay, yeah, okay, you're not going to tap those, right? Why would you? With this one, instead, you're like, okay, yeah, I'm dumping all my mana. Yeah, I'm dumping all of it. Okay, cool, it's just floating there. Okay, it doesn't go away. It just turns colorless instead. I get to hold on to that mana. I am ensuring that essentially I just have this growing resource. I have this growing pot of mana, essentially, that eventually I can pull from. I can essentially utilize. I can save it for a rainy day when I absolutely need it. I can build up to absolutely massive, huge spells and do some absolutely crazy things because I am able to invest that mana. And of course, you can utilize ways to, again, untap your lands, get more mana out of them, double things up. You've got plenty of ways to take advantage of that and plenty of ways to say, you know what? The amount of mana that I'm going to be gathering is going to be growing and growing and growing exponentially. And eventually, I'm going to utilize that huge resource to decimate my opponent's hopes and dreams. And when it comes to decimating opponent's hopes and dreams, there is no commander better at than send triplets. A 3/3 human wizard for 5 mana in Esper. That says at the beginning of your upkeep, choose target opponent this turn, and that player can't play spells or activated abilities and plays with their hand revealed. You can play cards in that player's hand this turn. Now, I have not warned you about any of these commanders up until now, but this one I will warn you about. This is one that is, well, one of the saltiest commanders of all time. It's one that if you show up to the table with it, you need to expect that someone might object, and you should have probably a backup commander and play a different deck. Because this is one where players can get incredibly salty, and maybe even they will ask you to leave the LGS. This is one where you probably should just ask ahead of time, be like, hey, is it okay if I play this commander? Then everyone might be like, sure, yeah, I'm just going to play my most brutal commander as well. I'm going to play one that's good against that commander. Because this is one that essentially can really aggravate opponents. Now, it does let you play the game completely differently because basically you are saying, okay, I'm not playing my deck, I'm playing my opponent's decks. What I am doing is trying to get information from my opponents to see who I am most benefited by playing for, essentially. I can choose one of my opponents, and I basically get access to their stuff. And by getting access to their stuff, I am stealing resources from them. They become my resources. Yeah, again, it's a different way of playing. Your head has to wrap around that. Like, okay, I need to figure out which of my opponents is the most beneficial to me to basically possess during my turn and utilize their resources. And again, I will remind you one more time. Ask before you play this commander if it is okay. Okay? And finally, an opponent head-scratching kind of commander more so, Malfegor. Yeah, they're going to be like, oh, you're playing Malfegor? What? Yeah, Malfegor is secretly crazy good, but also crazy, well, to wrap your head around. A 6/6 demon dragon with flying for 6 mana and Rakdos. Enters the battlefield, discard your hand. Each opponent sacrifices a creature for each card discarded this way. A great way to control the board, obviously, going like, okay, yeah, hey, all of these creatures are gone. Again, this is a one-sided board wipe in a way because your board stays put, although your hand is gone, but your opponent's creatures do not stay put. You can definitely just wipe the board. That being said, you are going handless. You are just going to be top decking at a certain point. You obviously can build around with some ways, essentially, and it forces you to think differently about, again, your hand, your lack of a hand, and how you can work with that, essentially. Again, if you're using lots of impulse draw, you probably don't have much of a hand anyways. Or if you got things in play that are like, hey, draw extra cards, but you discard your hand at the end of the turn, so you don't really have a downside with that anyways. You got ways to take advantage of this, and you really need to think around, okay, what am I going to do with not having a hand? Because that is kind of a big deal. See, Malfegor, again, forces you to think in a different direction, and again, can really dominate the board. It is such a fun, unique, interesting commander. Build around it and challenge yourself. And with that, this episode is coming to a close. As always, comment below with your thoughts on it. And of course, as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.